We are nearing the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II, and many of the brave men who fought that war and the machines they used to win it are slowly disappearing.
But one plane built for World War II is being preserved at the bottom of an Arizona lake, available for the truly adventurous to explore. Troy Hayden made that dive recently. He joins us live. You are truly adventurous. Do you have to be a little crazy to do this too?
No, but you got to be willing to go for it. And I have to say, this is one of the most challenging and interesting dives I've ever done. It was at Lake Mead, which is just outside Las Vegas, where one of the most famous planes ever built for the U.S. military is resting there on the bottom. The plane has a secret past. And so now, with the help of topside photographer and editor Corey Goodwin and underwater photographers Joe Kokoza and Joel Silverstein, let's dive the Lake Mead B-29. In the dark green water, more than 100 feet below the surface of Lake Mead, history sits in the silt, preserved for nearly 70 years, super secret for decades, and seen by very few.
Where the engines was just ripped off the wing of the plane at impact.
The B-29 bomber was the most advanced built for the U.S. military during World War II, flying higher and further than any bomber of its time. It dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. And when the war ended, one B-29 was converted to test guidance systems for early nuclear missiles. In 1948, that B-29 was flying low over Lake Mead. The pilots lost depth perception. And as this National Park Service animation shows, the plane hit the water at more than 200 miles an hour. 3 of its 4 engines were torn off, and the plane sank to the bottom, sitting upright. The crew survived, but because of the nature of the mission, the crash was kept secret for 50 years.
Now we're going to drop down, transverse across about 87 to 90 feet to the first block here.
Joel Silverstein owns Tech Diving Limited. His is the only diving outfit permitted to dive on the B-29 site.
The aluminum fuselage hadn't had a chance to get destroyed by salt water, and that's why this plane is intact. You go to any of the areas where planes have crashed in the ocean, you'll find that they are pretty much deteriorated within 10 to 15 years.
It's a great dive, but not an easy one. Because we're going to be so deep for so long exploring that plane, we're forced to breathe different gases on our way back up. It's called decompression, to avoid getting the bends, which in extreme cases can be fatal.
All right.
You can see the extra tank I'm carrying under my left arm. One of 3 gases we'll breathe on this dive. All right, into the water. We descend down a mussel-encrusted rope tied to a huge concrete block on the bottom. We head down. At 108 feet below the surface, we hit a line that traverses horizontally to the plane. Our first view of the B-29. The huge tail, 2 stories high. It emerges from the shadows. The plane's at an angle. The nose is downhill. That's why the tail is suspended up in the water. You can see the ribs in the structure. Part of this tail was actually designed with a fabric skin, and that fabric is now rotted away. We swim over to the left wing. The flaps almost look like they could still move. Then we see the only remaining engine on the plane, the rotor. It's all bent and twisted from the impact of the crash. The 3 other engines were ripped off the wings at impact, and they've yet to be found. They leave gaping holes with wires and pipes dangling out like torn cartilage. The fuselage angles down. It's in surprisingly good shape.
The impact just crashed the nose of this plane gone.
We then swim to the nose of the plane. It's crushed like an aluminum can.
The nose is still perfectly intact. That's so weird.
But there's no mistaking the unique window design, giving the pilots a better view of their bombing targets. And let's look inside the cockpit. Wow, I mean, you can clearly see the steering columns here, the old-fashioned controls, even the seats the pilots were sitting in. And they're mostly undamaged. The pilots were protected here. Remember, all 5 men on board survived this crash. But it's not wise to stay at this depth for too long. We have to decompress on the way back up. One last look at this amazing scene, and it's time to head to the surface.
It's so huge. Being up next to that tail.
Isn't it? That's where you really get the aspect of how big it is when you see the tail section.
It just comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden just this massive tail's next to you. Been down here since 1948.
That's almost 70 years, right?
That's right. It's a long time.
Nearly 70 years since World War II ended, only one B-29 is still flying. It visited Arizona earlier this year. Who knows how long it will be in the air? But generations from now, this B-29 will still be here at the bottom of this desert lake. So future explorers can dive into history.
That was amazing.
That was a really intense adventure.
It took a half an hour to get back up?
No, we were on the bottom for a half an hour. Yeah, and it did take us a half an hour to get back up, too.
And how do you feel when you come out of that?
I felt good. I was exhilarated. I had adrenaline going, you know, and we decompressed on the way back up, so I felt pretty good.
To see something that nobody else has seen or very few have
Very
seen.
few.
When the plane hit the water, it loses 3 engines, and
Yes.
then the plane sits on the top for a little bit, and
Yes.
everybody was able to get out.
Yeah,
and
all
then it
5
sank.
men got out. They are actually out there for like 6 hours, swimming around and
Wow.
floating, and the Park Service rescued them all those years ago.
It's amazing. I'm glad you did the work, so we don't have to.
We enjoyed the pictures,
And
though.
if anybody's interested in it, you have to be certified,
Right.
pretty high certifications. Go to divetheb29.com, and there are
Very
still spots
cool.
open this year to go down and dive
No
that plane.
kidding.
Yes.
That's great. Thanks,
Very cool.
Troy.
Thanks, Troy.